Very good morning to you. This is the Weekend Euro Game Day Breakfast here on talkSPORT. I'm Natalie Soy and joined this morning not only by the legend that is Tony Cascarino, but we have the England legend of Stuart Pearce with us. So we're with you until 10 o'clock, and we are focusing on that game yesterday between England and Scotland at Wembley. And we need to look ahead to what's to come for England. But before I do that, let's just get to a couple of texts and tweets and just to get your thoughts on it, because a couple of people are saying the same thing. Tim's gone for Southgate wasted 2 friendlies playing lads who weren't going to the tournament. He should have been focusing on getting his best 11, which Tim suggests he still doesn't know. And this one also, Colin from Manchester, England haven't played a settled team building up to the tournaments. They are not functioning as a cohesive unit. Does that make sense to you?
It does, but let me answer both of those questions in one. 10 days earlier, there was a Champions League final involving 2 of our players. Bear in mind, the players have gone through almost 18 months perpetual football. You've got to freshen them up in some ways with a minimal amount of time you've got. So to wheel the Champions League players out and the Man United players in those 2 friendlies at Middlesbrough, it is folly. It really is, because you hit a wall sometimes in the tournament.
Well, here's another question with regards to the sort of Champions League. It's from Simon, who's asking you this, Stuart. Do you think players are primed more for Champions League football than internationals these days? Potentially,
yes. I think it seems to be the holy grail with some players playing in the Champions League. Now, that's alien to me, because, you know, it meant too much to me. And the biggest thing I ever done in football was with a national jersey on, not a club jersey. But some people have a slightly different mentality to that. And that's not just England players, by the way. We're talking across the board.
Stuart, I've got to ask you, because obviously the final game, England could end up, first or second. And is there a difference in facing a potential target of the French group, of Portugal and Germany and Hungary? Do you think it would be wise to try and ignore playing a certain type of team? If you've got the draw, you come second, you face a different group.
Yeah, we'll go into the game and we'll attempt to win the game on Tuesday. I'm convinced of that, irrelevant to where it will end us up in the group and whatever. But to think that the players have not studied, like I am now, the implications of what direction, what side of the draw, all of those implications, you must think these players are naive. They'll come to a press conference and say, we haven't looked at it. They've got to say that, and the manager's got to say that. They'll be acutely aware of who's doing well in this tournament more than we are. You know full well that the Italians and the French are the ones to avoid. You think the Portuguese throw into the mix as well. Yeah. They're the ones showing a bit of form, and they're the ones you think, right, when do we come across them potentially? But they'll have to go out and try and win a game. There's no doubt about it. If you don't win the game, the Czechs win the group, and it takes you in a slightly different direction that might help you out. Well, you live with that.
Yeah, I asked that because back in 1990, I can remember Jack Charlton walking in and saying, we don't want to meet the Cameroons. We don't want them. And you ended up getting them with England. And
it's the roll of the eyes from Stuart.
A really incredible game.
He was a visionary, Jack, you know what I mean? We thought we had a Doddle cash, you know what I mean?
But, them scenarios where you suddenly think, well, that's because we got Romania and we were delighted and we got through, but you ended up having a tougher game that was probably not expected. Yeah. As tough as it could have been anyway.
Exactly. Well, sometimes you don't know what's going to be easy. I mean, I think we ended up, as we come out of the group, we got Belgium first, then we run into the Cameroons. But I don't think sometimes you can legislate and think you know what a tough game's going to be. England didn't think that game last night was going to be as tough as it was, and I think most people, you put your prediction down and they tip England to win last night.
So you might plot personnel in terms of who you might face.
Yes.
Would you even be thinking about where you're going to be playing those games? Because obviously if they win the group, they'll be staying in Wembley for that last 16 time. If they don't win the group, then they could be heading to Copenhagen, for example, and then you're heading to St. Petersburg if you win that. And whereas if you win that last 16 encounter, there is a quarterfinal to come in Rome, so not as far as Russia. Yeah. Do you even start thinking like that, or does it matter where you play?
It probably doesn't matter where you play, but the coaching staff and the players will be acutely aware of the direction of where they might go, the implications of training complexes here, there and everywhere. All of those things, you don't leave any of that to chance as best you can. You really don't. And time of kick-off as well, we used to look at when we played in the World Cup we played in, or certainly when you played in USA, kick-off times were paramount.
12 o'clock against Mexico in Florida. It was the biggest disadvantage that could have happened. Steve Staunton was honestly, he was struggling so much. His face was red before the kickoff.
Well, we all know, because we always used to see the thermometers on the TV telling us how high it was pitch side.
112.
So not only it's where you play, it's kick-off times as well. I always used to look and think, give me a wet night at Wembley rather than a 27, 28 degrees
at
somewhere.
2 o'clock.
Exactly. In Florida. You want your feet up on the beach in Miami if you're in Florida for anything.
Well, I wonder if we'll have a wet night on Tuesday night at Wembley then for England against the Czech Republic. Looking ahead to that then for England, what changes do you expect Gareth Southgate will make?
I think maybe he might look at Maguire to come back in, which will be a really, really tough call on Mings unless he goes with a 3. Mm-hmm. Now, that might, keep Stones and Mings in the equation and Harry as well dropping in, potentially.
Would you play Mings on the left of a 3?
Yes, and maybe Harry in the middle of that.
Right back, make a change. You think Kyle Walker will come back in?
I think so, yeah. I'm not sure Reece James done himself any credit personally. He's much, much better than the performance. Defensively, it was okay, but offensively, I don't think he offered the team enough. Luke Shaw, I wouldn't be surprised if he went out the side and Chile played. I really wouldn't, Maybe Trippier might even come back in. You don't know. I think there'll be a couple of changes.
So that's defensive changes. Anywhere else?
Yeah. I think even in the midfield, I wouldn't be surprised if there's less than 2 changes. I'll be surprised. Let's say that. I think there'll be somewhere closer to 4 than closer to 2. Let's say, So, yeah, I think there will be. I think Harry Kane will certainly play. I think we need to get some form and consistency from him.
What about Jack Grealish? Does he start?
There is a clamour for him at the moment. It depends, Gareth's got to trust him to play the role and the dynamic of playing him. I think he'll only play him on the left-hand side of midfield. I don't think people saying, he can play as a number 10 and whatever. I think Gareth sees him as a left-sided midfielder. Aston Villa see him in that position, so cutting in from the width. So if he is going to play, that will be the only position he will play. If you play 3 at the back, that might nullify someone in that position then, because you're playing with wing-backs.
So what can you see happening on Tuesday? Can England get the win?
Without a doubt. Listen, we're playing the Czechs at home. Our home record is fantastic over the years. You can't lose track of that. We've kept 2 clean sheets in the game. The Czechs have done reasonably well. I don't think they've done fantastically well. At the moment. Exactly. I mean, how that was a penalty, I've no idea. But there you go.
I said that this morning. I said I can't believe. I'd say I would change the way I played football and just get crosses in all the time. Yeah. Tell a big centre forward to jump, he might get a penalty.
Yeah, it was a poor decision. But listen, the Czechs are okay. They got the goals at the right time against Scotland, and that was the only difference between them and Scotland, I think.
Very, very quickly, Richard Colton's just said you can't have Stuart in and not ask how he's getting on with his drumming.
Drumming's going quite well, actually. What I do at the moment, I've got a set of drums in lockdown. I'm sort of playing my own music along to others. So I might put some Black Sabbath on or some Ferocious Dog or something of that nature in the background, whack it up loud and then just smash away. So
you're in a soundproof room, yeah?
No, I've got an amp as well. I want the world to hear me. Don't worry about that. But
your neighbours are 3 miles away.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just you tell Mrs. Pearce, go out for a while because I'm going to make some noise.
Go and put some camembert in your ears, love.
Oh, Stuart, it's been great to have you in. Thank you so much.
Really enjoyed it.
It's been great to analyse England, and look, hopefully it'll get better for them performance-wise against the Czech Republic. This has been talkSPORT with the weekend Euro Game Day Breakfast.
Game Day Breakfast with Natalie Sawyer and Tony Cascarino. Saturday mornings from 6 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.